I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham Ha Rakah Quadash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal. All right, so Ezekiel 28 is a prophecy against Edom, the so-called white race, the counterfeits that are in the Holy Land. All right, now it's talking about Tyre, which was a city of Ham, which in that land you had Hamites, different kinds of Hamites. And when the Israelites took over that land, we were exiled from that land. And right now in that land are the Edomites, and you have the other nations, but the Edomites are ruling from that land. So let me pull up this image that I took of the land so you can see the area that he's speaking of, and then I'll get into the prophecy of what's going to happen to that land. All right. Okay, so here it is. So you can see Tyre and Sidon, all right, on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, north of Jerusalem. All right. And this is the area it's speaking about. All right. All right. So I just put it in as simple as possible. Counterfeits in Tyre. All right. So it says Tyre, Lebanon, has a rich, complex history with the counterfeit people, which are Edomites, the small hat. It says stretching from biblical antiquity to the medieval period, which we were exiled out of that land. All right, and now you got the counterfeits in that land, which you can see what I put in there. I don't want to say nothing. All right, look at Tyranian shekel, which goes back to Esau, the so-called white race. All right, and that's who's in that land now, and they're going to be punished with the prophecy that is in Ezekiel 28. Okay, so the land was originally given to the Hamites and then the Israelites, but then we were exiled out of that land, and you have other nations in that land. They parted our land, as it says in Joel 3. It says, verse 1, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem," which they're doing with the implantable microchip. They're trying to bring us back into another form of slavery using that implantable microchip. "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat," which is pretty much a valley that runs from Turkey down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, down into the Saudi Arabia Peninsula. All right, from Turkey down into the valley of Saudi Arabia's peninsula, you're going to have a mountain of troops, Armageddon. All right. "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat," which is also known as the valley of slaughter. Jehoshaphat means Yahweh's judgment. "And will plead with them there for my people, the Israelites," which he brought us into that land, but we became Gentiles, cast out of that land. We were exiled from that land because of our sin. Northern kingdom first, then southern kingdom. Now we're remembering ourselves, which is part of the prophecy. It says, "And will plead with them there for my people, the Israelites, and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land," talking about the Israelites. All right. the land belongs to the Israelites. It was promised to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the promise is being reconfirmed with the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. All right. The northern kingdom came to the western hemisphere on Assyrian ships after the Babylonian Assyrian captivity. Then the southern kingdom, which went in later to the Assyrian Babylonian captivity, came out and went back into the land. Zerubbabel, Ezra, Nehemiah, all right, they went back into the land and built the city and the temple back up. All right. But eventually the southern kingdom was brought to the Americas from the west coast of Africa on slave ships because they were running from the Edomite, which was known as the Roman back then. And they have an Arch of Titus that actually remembers the history of them sieging the city of Jerusalem and destroying our people, destroying our temple again, which the Edom helped the Babylonians destroy our temple the first time. And then as the Romans under Titus, they destroyed our temple again, which he was the son of Vespasian, all right, which they were Edomites. And this is why the southern kingdom went to West Africa trying to run from the Edomite and hide from the devil there, but later to be picked up and put on slave ships, all right, on the west coast of Africa. It says, and for my heritage, Israel, which he's going to put us back in that land. All right. It says, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So they scattered the Israelites among the nations and parted his land amongst the heathen. It says, and they have cast lots for my people. They've sold us in slavery and have given a boy for an harlot, which you see a lot of these athletes, really all of them, the athletes, the movies, the singers, they're all sodomites, all right? And it's because of the Edomites. And sold a girl for wine. They turn our women into whores that they might drink, which they pimp these Jake out, and it's to the benefit of the heathen, the so-called white race and the other nations, which are confederate against us. They devour us, as it says in Jeremiah 50. It says, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, which once again, that was the land of Ham, but now it's dealing with the Edomites that are in that land, the Ishmaelites, and even the Hamites that are still there, the Moabites, the Ammonites, right? You have all these different heathen that are confederate against the Israelite, and all the coast of Palestine, which, you have counterfeits in that land. They talk about, what is the name in Gaza? They said, let me see if I can pull it up. See, Hezbollah, these are made up groups by Esau and the other nations to be in that land so that we can't go back in that land. All right. So it says, I put Hezbollah was a setup to hold the land, which they openly said it. I seen a news article where they were going into their history, and it said that they said themselves they don't belong in the land, and the Edomites don't belong in the land, because that land belongs to the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, all right, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right, it says, Hezbollah was not originally formed as a setup to hold land, but rather emerged in 1982 during the Lebanese Civil War. Just like America had a civil war, right? It's because they came into that land, took the land, and then they fought each other who's going to rule the land. That's how it is. It was established by Lebanese Shia clerics with funding and training from Iran, which we know Iran was set up by America by the 80s, right? And the Islamic religion is created by the so-called white race. It says, in response to the counterfeits invasion of Lebanon, which they were setting themselves up as the Jewish state, which are the counterfeits. They're not the real Jew. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi are the so-called Negroes in America and in the Caribbeans and South America and Central America, which were brought here on slave ships. See? So this shows that they are the sword, the wicked that ruled the world. It says the primary goal was to fight the counterfeits, occupation, and Western influence, because America, even Nero 47 said, without America, that counterfeit state would not exist. All right. So this was a prophecy that was fulfilled. All right. It says the phrase is widely attributed, which the phrase was they left black and came back white, to former Egyptian president Gamal Abdel Nasser, who allegedly made the comment around 1958 regarding the shifting demographics of the counterfeit population. All right. So this was a statement by the Egyptian president, which is prophesied in the Holy Scriptures, that they would make war with these counterfeits in that land. They'd have no peace. When we go back into the land, the whole world is going to be at peace. The nations will learn war no more. All right. So this shows you that they're not the real people, because why are they running into bunkers? Why don't they have a chariot sitting over every house? Why are not the homes of these people built out of precious stones as it was prophesied? Where's the rest of the tribes? Where's the Messiah? Where's the power? See? So this shows that they're counterfeits. So the Lord's going to punish them because they stole that land from us by the sword, and they deceived the world with blasphemy. It says in Joel 3 verse 4, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Which, once again, you got a bunch of counterfeits in that land. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Which is happening right now. That's why all these things are happening. Which I showed yesterday. You can look it up. The year 2026 is a record-breaking year, because these are the last days of the so-called white race ruling the world. It says in Obadiah verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, which are nothing. They have a reputation of being nothing, and they devour us in captivity, right? They destroy our homes, they destroy our health, they destroy our lives, they destroy our people's brains, they destroy everything, right? They destroyed the earth. So Yahweh is sending Yahweh Shai, and judgment is upon all the heathen. Which, remember, the whole earth is going to shake when this judgment comes, that comes with Yahweh Shai, the destruction of the great whore, Babylon the Great, being destroyed by its invention, the nuclear missile, which its allies and enemies are going to shoot upon it from every direction. Also, the military of this world is going to be turned into dust and smoke in the valley of Jehoshaphat. All right? So it says, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So as you treated us, you're going to receive that back. All right? So it says in Joel 3 verse 4, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, which is to destroy our people, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. And that's why, really, when they start to persecute us unto death for this prophecy, they're going to actually it's going to go faster for them to go into slavery. The days are going to be shortened for the elect's sake. It says in verse 5, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, look at the Arch of Titus, and have carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things. Right? They got our gold. They said King Solomon, I shared it, he had like billions of dollars of gold given to him from the Hamites, from the king of Tyre. When it was under Ham, right? The Phoenicians, they were giving King Solomon tons and tons of gold and silver and all this stuff. And really, I think they said silver was nothing but, timber and everything. He was building up the temple, building up the kingdom. All right. So they took that. Where is that gold? That gold, the Edomites have it now, right? The ones that rule the world in wickedness, the so-called white race, the red devils the Bible speaks of. Now, these other nations are fighting with Esau not because they're trying to help us get back in our land. No, it's because they want to be in the seat of Esau and rule over the Israelites and possess our land and possess our gold and possess the Israelite people, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which they still trade us. That's why we have social security numbers. That's why they track us. That's why everything we do, we have to fucking put in applications. All right, and we're always denied, but it's because they're tracking us. And that's why they want to put the implantable microchip inside your body, which is the mark of the beast. All right. It says in verse 6, the sons also of Judah and the sons of Jerusalem, the Israelites, have ye sold unto the Grecians. The Grecians were Edomites. So the Hamites participated in the slavery of the Israelite and helped the Edomite, the Grecians, and the Romans enslave us, which today are the Europeans and the Americans. It says that ye might remove them far from their border. So when we were in West Africa, who was helping capture us and put us on slave ships? The other nations, the Hamites and the Ishmaelites, the Arabs. And they were helping who? Esau, the so-called white race. And even you had some Israelites participating in this, just like you have Israelites participating in the Ice Cube and Ice Tea program. Today, there's nothing new under the sun. All right. And that's why really you're going to have 2/3 of the nation of Israel in the nuclear destruction of Babylon the Great, because they are unfaithful. All right. And they're bowing the knee to Baal and Molech, which are the gods of the heathen, which they make child sacrifice to please their demonic voices. All right. It says in verse 7, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, which he's causing us to remember and stand upon our feet, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the sons of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, which are the Cushites, the Ethiopians, to a people far off, for Yahweh has spoken it, which they're going to be sold in slavery, all right, and they're going to be under the lowest slave, being Ham. Esau is going to be under him. They're going to be the farthest away from us. They're going to be in the ground, in the caves, all right, and they're not going to have the same lot as the rest of the heathen, which the heathen, after their time in slavery, they're going to be allowed to live on as tributaries. The Edomites, the wicked that rule the world, that have lifted up their head, for they have hated us, though they're the actual closest relative we have, according to the other nations, they betrayed us, they mistreated us, they sold us in slavery, they lied to us, right? And they're even coming up with this implantable microchip and making it mandatory to try to condemn you to their judgment, the nuclear destruction of America. All right. So the Lord has it out for these heathen, starting with Edom and the other nations which are confederate against us Israelites. All right. It says Psalm 83, and they know who we are. The UN declared America the worst slavery to ever happen to man, woman, child on earth. And who did that happen? To the sovereign nation of Israel. The so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian are the Israelites that have been exiled out of that land. Now we committed sin, that's why we were exiled, but through Yahweh Shai's sacrifice, we're forgiven. And our time should already be up of slavery. We should already be in our land. But just like Pharaoh, all right, Nero and Edom, all right, Edom being the so-called white race, and they set up their king, Nero 47, the king of Babylon, refused to let us go. There's a cruel Lord ruling Egypt, and he refuses to let us go. So what's going to happen? Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai to bring us out of this captivity. All right, it says Psalms 83, verse 1, a song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O Elohim. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O Elohim. So he's prophesying of the Israelites in the future, prophesying, and he's saying, don't stop. Keep telling them. For lo, thine enemies, the other nations, starting with the so-called white race, make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head, the so-called white race, Esau, Edom, the wicked. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, the Israelites. They have their secret meetings. They have their meetings with the other nations, which they're confederate against us, the Israelites, and consulted against thy hidden ones, starting with Judah. All right? They hate the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which were the biblical Hebrew Israelites. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. That's why they said we're different. They cause division amongst us. They call us black. They call us Mexicans. They call us Indians. They call us Haitians. They call us Jamaicans. They call us Puerto Ricans, to cause division amongst us so that we don't remember ourselves. And that's why Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai raised up the elect, so we could stir up the memory in the Holy Spirit. It says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So that's their plan. They want to pretty much extinct us from the land, from the world. That's why they poison our food, poison our water, poison our air, poison our children's mind, right? And eventually they're planning to put an implantable microchip in our body through deception to try to condemn us to the nuclear destruction of their great horde, their wicked-ass kingdom. All right? But it's not going to work on the elect. The elect will not be deceived. They are the remnant that will be saved. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. All the nations are confederate against us, starting with the so-called white race, Edom. All right? So that's why the whole world is going to shake, and all these heathen are going into slavery. All right? Under us, Esau, he's going into extinction, but the other nations, they will always be tributaries to the Israelites. They will always be going off, and we will punish them publicly to install fear in them. But they will always be tributaries. They will always be bringing the cream of their crop, the cream of their kind, of their livestock. Everything is going to be ours. It says in Revelation 21, verse 24, and the nations, the heathen, of them which are saved, meaning they survive, Esau's going to go into extinction. The other nations are going to be allowed to live on, but they'll die and come back through reincarnation, shall walk in the light of it, which we're going to re-educate them to righteousness. Right now, they're walking in wickedness, confederate with the wicked, the so-called white race. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. So they're always going to be bringing gifts to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, being tributaries to the Israelites. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. Esau is going to be made extinct. All right? That evil, dark spirit, Edom, is going to be gone, because the nation of Edom is going to be made extinct after 1,000 years of slavery. The other nations are going to continue on, but they will be tributaries forever, because this is what they intend to do to us. This is why it says in Galatians 6 and verse 7, be not deceived, our power is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So these heathen are trying to extinct us. That's why Esau's going to go extinct. And they're trying to make us subject to payment for the rest of eternity. So they're going to be tributaries to us forever and ever and ever. All right? They belong to us. They were created for us. All right, to rule over them. They will never, ever again be over us after this last time we go around. All right, and we're at the end of the go around. So, really, we're overdue. It says in Lamentations 4, all right, and verse 21, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, which they think they're going to make their implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling, and continue on ruling. That dwelleth in the land of Uz, which is a city of Babylon, pertaining to America, Babylon the Great. The cup also shall pass through unto thee, and thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked, which is happening right now. Constant shame is being poured out on the Edomite race, the so-called white people, the wicked that rule the world, because it's leading to their destruction. And when they're destroyed, all right, they're forever going to be despised. It says, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. These things are happening because we're coming out of slavery. The Israelites, the monument of Israel. He will no more carry thee away into captivity, though it's in his heart to try to enslave us through the microchip. The implantable microchip is going to fail, for the elect will not be deceived. And we're going to be saved by Yahweh's Son, Yahushai. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins, which even Yahushai was prophesying of this in Matthew 24. And Yahushai went out and departed from the temple, which he was in the land of Israel, in the Jerusalem, which when he went in there, it was the second temple. And remember, he was King Solomon. If you understand that, he's the one that built the first temple. But he was wiser as Yahushai, as the Messiah. And his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushai said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. When he comes back, he's going to destroy all them that are in that land, that are gathered there, right? The heathen that are gathered there fighting over the Israelites in the land. Well, once he destroys them, 2 Ezra 13, he's going to turn them in a moment to dust and smoke. Then he's going to save us from the nuclear destruction that's going to devour America's flesh in the vengeance of the Israelites. He's going to avenge us on these heathen. The whole earth is going to shake. All right? The whole earth is going to shake for our sake. Revelation 18. And 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets. And when you go into the NLT, it says, her fate. Rejoice over her fate, which is the future judgment of the great whore, America. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon, aka America, the great whore, that bitter whore, be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Their kingdom is going to be made a desert by nuclear fire. It's first going to be a lake of nuclear fire, which the people are going to burn, all right? And they're going to learn that there was prophets amongst them, and they're going to learn it by pain, all right? And then, after them troops are also destroyed, when Yahushua comes back, because he's going to come back from the east to the west, and then put us back in that land as he promised us in Isaiah 14:1. All right? But all them heathen, they're all going to suffer the judgment, which is going to come upon the great whore, America. Nuclear destruction to the point that it's going to shake the earth. And like I said, I was watching those videos, all right, about the earthquake in Venezuela, and the people couldn't even run. The ground was opening up around them. They're running. They're trying to run to the street, and they're falling down. I seen a video in Philippines when they had their big earthquake just recently, and it happened so fast they couldn't even leave from the table they were eating at before all the furniture fell upon them. So how much greater when the whole earth is shaking in judgment of what is being done to the Israelite. All right. So it says in Ezekiel 28 verse 1, the word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, which today is Esau, Thus saith Yahweh's power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, which that's what the so-called white race is trying to do. They're trying to declare themselves as God of the earth, right? Because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God, which that's what Esau's doing right now. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, which is happening. This is why we know Yahushua is coming back. We're being gathered to him. It says, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of Hamashiach is at hand. That's why we tell you to eat the whole roll, read the whole Bible, understand what's going on. Let no man deceive you by any means. Eat the whole roll and digest it. It's sweet in your mouth and bitter in your belly. For that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, which happened. We forgot we were the Israelites through the extreme torture that we had to suffer. And that man of sin be revealed, the so-called white race, the son of perdition, all right, which is America, the great whore, that bitter whore that's going to be destroyed by nuclear fire, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And that's what's happening with the so-called white race in that land, right? They're really trying to get the world to submit to the so-called white race, all right? And they're going to bring out a microchip and make it mandatory for buying and selling, which is going to be the worship that they require. And it's an abomination for the Israelites to do such a thing, all right? It will condemn you to the nuclear destruction of the great whore if you're in America. All right. Now going back to Ezekiel 28, and I'm going to jump down to verse 17. It says, thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Remember, America, everybody wanted to come to America. And it's been revealed that America is controlled by the small hats and the counterfeit, the counterfeits that are in the land. It says, thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness, which they act like they're angel of light when they're the devil the Bible speaks of. That's why they call themselves illuminated or Illuminati, right? They built America on so-called enlightened views. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings that they may behold thee. Esau is the bottom of the barrel. All right. All the heathen are going to be slaves to us, but they're going to be under all the slaves. Just like they treated us, that's what they're going to get. As the heathen have done unto us, it's going to be recompensed upon their own head. All right. It says, thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, it shall devour thee, which are the Israelites that they have enslaved. We have the Holy Spirit, which is a fire, and it's a consuming fire, and that spirit is in those nuclear missiles that they developed. All right, go to Obadiah, verse 17. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, which starts with the elect. And there shall be holiness, which is the truth. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possession. So we're going to have the heathen as our slaves, and we're going to own them as possessions, and every possession they have is ours. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken it. See? And it starts with the elect. And saviors, verse 21, and saviors, the elect, shall come up on Mount Zion, read Revelation 14, to judge the mount of Esau. And the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. And that's why they're going to try to make a move on us. And they're going to come in like a flood, but then the Lord's going to raise the standard for us. All right? But they're going to try to stop us from inheriting everything. But they're going to fail, and they're going to fail badly. 1 day and 1 hour. Complete annihilation. Through the hands of their allies and enemies. NATO nations, UN nations, and BRIC nations. All right? So it says, verse 18 of Ezekiel 28, thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic, which we know what they traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. And the traffic I'm talking about, look at Epstein Island. That was a small hat. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. Which everyone's going to mourn when the great whore is destroyed. This bitter whore is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles. And it tells you in Revelation 18 that the merchants that got rich by their ships, right, they're going to cry because who's going to buy all their goods, right? Because America, Babylon the Great, is destroyed, and that's their golden goose. That's they milked this heifer all they could, and now their intentions are to destroy it. And that's because Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, is controlling every man, whether it's an Israelite man or a heathen man. Yahweh controls them through Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai has been given authority from Yahweh over heaven and earth. He does the will of the Father. All right. It says, all they that, and that's why he has the reputation of being faithful and true. It says in verse 19, all they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. When they see your destruction, it's going to be amazing because it's going to shake the whole earth. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shall thou be any more. You're going to go extinct. You're a terrible person, and then you're going to go extinct. That's happening right now. You're fucking terrible. And it's being revealed on many levels in different countries that you're a fucking piece of shit. You fucking Edomites. You so-called Caucasians, the wicked that rule the world, there's nothing worse than you. You're the fucking scum under the scum on my shoe. All right? So you're going to be no more eventually. That's the prophecy for your whole fucking despicable, degenerate race. You fucking pieces of shit. All right? It says in verse 20, again, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Zidon, and prophesy against it, which today those Edomites are in control of it. And say, thus saith Yahweh's power, behold, I am against thee, O Zidon, and I will be glorified in the midst of thee. And they shall know that I am Yahweh when they see the destruction, when I shall have executed judgments in her, and shall be sanctified in her. Which he's going to destroy the mountain of troops that are gathered there, and the whore, which the small hat counterfeits, control the Edomite kingdom, America, the bitter whore. It's going to eat nuclear fire. All right. There's another one I wanted to pull up. And Yahweh said right here in Exodus 17, verse 16, for he said, because Yahweh has sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek. That's why Amalek are in that land, Tyre and Sidon. All right. That's why they're in Jerusalem. That's why they're fighting for Gaza. Right. It's because they're the ones that are going to be in that land when Yahweh Shai comes back, and he's going to destroy them that are in that land, and he's going to destroy Babylon the Great, which is their kingdom. From generation to generation, and eventually it's going to go into extinction. There'll be a time where they're no more. The Edomites, the so-called white race, the wicked the Bible speaks of. It says in verse 23 of Ezekiel 28, for I will send into her pestilence and blood into her streets, which there's supposed to be peace. It says when there's the Israelites in that land, there's supposed to be peace and safety. But with the wicked, they act like there's peace and safety, but sudden destruction. Because the wicked are ruling, and they're the sword, and they take peace from the earth. So with the so-called white race ruling the world, there will be no peace. But once the Israelites get into power, when Yahweh sends Yahweh Shai back and establishes us as the ruling class, the ruling nation, all right, the world will be at peace, because there will only be the worship of one God. Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai will be honored through the Israelites. All right? It says, for I will send into her pestilence and blood into her streets, and the wounded shall be judged in the midst of her by the sword upon her on every side, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. And there shall be no more a pricking briar unto the house of Israel. There will be no more evil, because the evil will be done away with. The tempter, Satan, the devil, he ain't going to be fucking with us no more. Because the so-called white race, which is a weapon that was created against us, formed against us, shall not prosper. They're going into extinction, just as it says. We have a sure word of prophecy. Nor any grieving thorn of all, which we won't even sin, we'll have new bodies. It says that are round about them that despise them, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. All right? Which we know it through Yahweh Shai by the Holy Spirit. That's how we confess this truth on earth. And it's going to happen. We have a sure word of prophecy. Egypt fell, Babylon fell, the Greeks, the Persians, the Medes, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, they all fell. All right? America's going to fall like lightning in one day, in 1 hour. All right? And we're going to have new bodies, heavenly bodies that don't die. And then we're going to have the heathen as our slaves, and we're going to be stomping them out day and night. That's going to be our pleasure. You think you have pleasure in sex, you ain't even felt these other pleasures, like being able to stomp out your enemy and not fear incarceration under the wicked laws of the wicked, which they have laws to protect the feeble, wicked Edomite. But once we get in power, all these things are going to go away, and the laws of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai are going to be on the earth and enforced. And Esau is getting no fucking mercy. None of these heathen are getting mercy. They showed us no mercy. They feed us shit and piss. They pollute our children's toys, right? And then they talk shit on us. They call us lazy. They call us weak. They call us all kinds of shit. That's why when you read that Isaiah 14, we're going to taunt them. What happened to all that pride, bitch? Well, our foot is on your neck. And that's what we long for. We long for Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai to give us the kingdom. And it says the saints shall take the kingdom. And we're going to take these heathen that survived the nuclear destruction of Babylon the Great, because they're going to be in their bunkers outside of America. And they're going to come out like worms licking the dust off our feet. And they're going to be put in chains. And for 1,000 years, there ain't going to be nothing but pain. All right? You're not going to sleep. You're not going to eat. All right? All you're going to do is work until you fucking die. All right? And you're not even going to be comfortable in that. It says in verse 25, thus saith Yahweh's power, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they are scattered. We are scattered amongst the nations throughout the world. We are in every population. All right? And we're remembering ourselves through the Holy Spirit. It's a spiritual phenomenon. And shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen, which the heathen are afraid. Because guess what? They got to pay for devouring us. They got to pay for their help in enslaving us. Ammon and Moab, they fucking own the bonds of this whore. They fund our slavery, these pieces of fucking shit. They're not going to get nothing but an ass kicking every fucking day. They're going to get knuckle sandwiches every fucking day. All day. For 1,000 years straight. There ain't going to be no mercy to them. All right? And then it's going to ease up, because after they pay for their slavery, they're going to be tributaries. But there'll be peace on earth, because they'll be re-educated for 1,000 years. And then the evil that comes through Esau, the so-called white race, that's going to be gone. They're going to be made extinct. So the earth will be at peace, and the nations will learn war no more. Then shall they dwell in the land that I have given to my servant Jacob. Given to my servant Jacob. Given to my servant Jacob. And that's why Yahweh Shai is coming back, to give us that land. And they shall dwell safely therein, and shall build houses and plant vineyards. Yea, they shall dwell with confidence, which we're going to rule over these heathen, because we're not going to lift a hand, lift a finger. They're going to build our houses. They're going to plant our vineyards. They're going to maintain our possession, because they're our possession as well. Yea, they shall dwell with confidence when I have executed judgments upon all those that despise them round about them, and they shall know that I am Yahweh their power. which is really all these heathen. All right? Let me go to Jeremiah 50. And verse 6. My people, the Israelites, have been lost sheep. We've been scattered amongst all the nations. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. Esau has set up false prophets. They have turned them away on the mountains, which is the government system set up over us. They've deceived us to forget that we are Israelites. They have gone from mountain to hill. Now they call us Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. They have forgotten their resting place. Why? Because you got a bunch of fucking counterfeits in our land. And we're being told through all these fucking Edomite institutions that we're not the people. That's why you got the prophets on the street. All right? That's why Yahweh had to give us freedom of speech so that we could get up on our feet and tell the truth. This is why the heathen are afraid. This is why they want to take away civil rights. This is why they want to take away the ability to put the Bible on the internet, because it condemns them. It says, all that found them have devoured them. So all these nations, they have devoured us. And their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Yahweh. But what they forgot is we're repenting. We have the power to repent through Yahweh Shai. Just like when they took the Hamites took Samson and gouged out his eye and cut his hair. What happened? They forgot his power and they let his hair grow, and he was able to bring down their whole fucking system. Well, that's what's happening with us. They forgot who we were, just as we were made to forget. And now we're remembering ourselves, and they're starting to remember who they are. And that's why they're very afraid. They're very fucking afraid, because they have no prayer in heaven nor in earth. All right? There's nowhere for them to hide. They can't alter the prophecies. They can't stop them. And in fact, every move they make against us is just speeding it up for them. All right? They're having visions like the rich man and Lazarus. They're having visions of being enslaved under us, which they will know it is hell to be enslaved under the Israelite. Just as we had to recognize it was hell being enslaved under the Edomite. All right? It says, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. But if he's just, that means we're going to get the heathen as slaves. It says that. Revelation 13:9. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And all we got to do is wait. And Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai, and he's going to give us the earth and give us the heathen. And we're going to enforce these judgments upon them. It says, verse, let me see, I wanted 51. Yeah, right here. It says in verse 5, for Israel had not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, which is Yahweh, of Yahweh of hosts, though their lands was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. That's why we've been exiled from that land, because of our sin. Now we are repenting through Yahweh Shai as prophesied. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, talking about America, and deliver every man his soul, which is through Yahweh Shai. And it's only for the Israelites. Be not cut off in her iniquity. Do not take the implantable microchip. It will condemn you to the nuclear destruction of this great whore. For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense, which is going to shake the whole entire earth. Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, talking about America. that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunk of her wine, her false doctrines. Therefore, the nations are mad. All right? And that's why the world's crazy right now. Because of all the fucking lies of the so-called white race. All right? Like a man could be a woman and a woman could be a man. Like a woman, she don't need a man. She don't want a man. That's all lies taught to the people by the so-called white race. That's how he deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden. He's that serpent. He's that treacherous person. The so-called white race is the red devil the Bible speaks of. It says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed, and Yahushua prophesied like lightning, quick, 1 day and 1 hour nuclear destruction. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed, but she can't be healed. They've been trying to heal her. Them giving the people the stimulus checks was them trying to heal Babylon. We would have healed Babylon. You got these 2/3, and they wish they could heal Babylon. They want America's slavery to continue. But she is not healed. Forsake her. Fuck this place. Fuck these people. And let us go everyone into his own country, which eventually that's what's going to happen. You're going to have the people that have money leave America. It's already happening. Let me look it up. Americans are forsaking their American citizenship in 2026. It says thousands of, and I'm reading on my other phone, thousands of Americans are giving up their citizenship. Driving this trend are the financial burdens of Americans' worldwide tax obligations, political divides, and increasingly strict government attempts to legally strip citizenship from naturalized Americans. See? So that's why Jeremiah 51:9. It's going to be easier to live somewhere else, so they're going to say, fuck this place. And they're going to forsake her. It says, forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country, which America is a bunch of people from different countries that came here thinking that there was a dream. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Yahweh had brought forth our righteousness, Yahushai. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh our power, which we're prophesying. Make bright the arrows, they're making nuclear missiles. Gather the shields, Yahweh hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, the Russians. For his device is against Babylon. That's why Russia has superior nuclear power. To destroy it, to destroy Babylon the Great, America, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple, which he's going to avenge his people, starting with the elect, by sending Yahushua to take us out of this god-awful place, and then to destroy it by nuclear fire. And we're going to rejoice over it. Revelation 15. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abal babal.